So
You can return the mirror. You get back to them. Vampires now have a new look. There's a little bit more, kind of long nails, kind of this metallic look to them, like a lot of horror and stuff does. Kind of emulating a bit of the Dross Vampire in the beginning. And did you, the history of that game? Well, sure, right? Well, I don't actually know much about the origins of the merely vampires. They haven't, we don't know if they've been taken into the plane like everything with Connor, or if it's more just they kind of just came about.
I did try to look into that, and I could not find anything.
yeah, sometimes they're just like, oh, we need a black picture with vampires on it. Same way you get rats.
Maybe the next time we go back to Miriam, we'll get some more.
That would be nice.
And as we move on, we move to the biggest thing, the one that we all know. Innistrad. And Innistrad, if Zendikar brought the focus, Innistrad blew it out of the park. People love vampires, and this is where we get the martyrs. This is, well, traditional in the sense that Bram Stoker, what we know in mass media.
Yeah, like,
Romanticized, like.
yeah, Euro-coded vampires. Like, hey, here, this is maybe Transylvania actually coded to magic. So,
Olivia, which is someone that, you know, everyone loves. Storm comes back again. We get some of them, yeah. We get blood art, we get things that work and inspire freaking, you know, deck packs and like, you know, the aristocrats and blood arts and stuff in there as well. So I didn't feature here that's walking around the aristocrat. This is one of the ones that very much that deck type.
Yeah, they think you need a vampire per se. If you're already playing, you were playing vampire because it was the mosaic at the time.
Goes into the world. And we cover the history. You want to take over?
Yeah, so on Innistrad, the vampires are primarily racist, and as most of us know, Edgar Markov is a particular vampire on Innistrad. But a lot of people don't know is that in order to become the beginner vampire, you have to make a deal with Shokankar, which we got in Modern 3, to cure a thing that was going on Innistrad. To start, you have to deal with Shokankar to use the blood of the angel to pretty much remove the need for food and replace it with blood. Well, we don't know that. We got the four families, we got the Markov, the Bulgarians, the Stompers, and the Stompers.
It's a Magic the Gathering panel on the history of vampires in Magic the Gathering. I hope you heard me, everyone. It's a panel discussion on the history of vampires in Magic the Gathering. Thank you for coming.
Names or words or language, they're just like very hungry, bloodthirsty, like monsters based on some cool mythology from that region, which is sweet. And obviously, there's absolutely a conversation we had about the way that like the interpretation of the cultures was done initially in Turkey. I recommend Spice Abrams like 3-hour video on it, actually incredible stuff. If honestly, any Spice Abrams videos are great, but
Yeah, it's downstairs. Side rooms.
Yeah, because we love the fact that we see this, but we are also like allowed and it should be encouraged to be able to
Go near the soda shack or the hallway.
Done, but like, could it have been done in a slightly better way? Probably yes. That's good to have that conversation. But still, it's dark.
Yeah, you have it in the beginning, probably. Yes, this is a fresh point for a different vampire that maybe.
Room 1102.
So what I hear is that now we know that we're going back to the park here and driving, so I know we're focused on. Can we get a few more? We get a few more? Can we get 7 more interpretations?
Foundation reprints.
Then we move on through this era, this is where we basically go back. We go back to Zendikar, we go back to Ishtar again, and we have more than one intros by interval. We have Madness, which I think is actually like superb, I think ties into something we get later on, we'll cover. But at this point, again, this type is so popular. When they do the commander decks, they have like 4 like extremely popular types. Cats, wizards, dragons, obviously. Perfect vampires, and unfortunately the most notorious vampire commander ever. I will let you know I have stopped all judging for Edgar. I'm so sorry I put this against you.
Listen, Gabe's got energy.
Gabe's got it. This is again one of our interesting bangers, which is we get Kaladesh, and we get the Aether Born, and we get the first one binary vampires.
The Aetherborn are so cool, and I wish we were on Kaladesh for more than 2 sets, because there's so much to explore there in like this kind of unique, like, we are born and we die very quickly, but also some of us are vampires, because like the idea of the Aetherborn is like, live fast, die hard, which is fascinating, but it is also at complete odds with the idea of being a vampire, which means that you live for potentially like 1,000 years and, you know, you get sad and then eventually some 20-year-old twink interviews you in San Francisco. So it's fascinating that like this completely opposite dichotomy exists in Kaladesh, and take me back to Kaladesh, Wizards and Cowards. Okay, cool. I'm never back on panel for sure after this one.
How are you on all of this?
The thing is very sad, they cannot leave the plane.
Yeah.
They go through the
I'll head up there after this.
That's
if they go to the animal, they don't have anything to eat, so they will pass it. So we have to go to Kaladesh back again to see more of them. Might go back soon because it's great.
I agree.
Just look at that for science. It doesn't have, you see them and you don't think it's a vampire.
If we already know those guys, it's going to be Aether Dresden now. We might get Aetherborn and Drag Racers now running around.
Vin Diesel's gonna be there, so we do that.
So then,
The only thing that matters is family.
as the era comes to an end, this era comes to a close, we get one more. Oh, we get one thing. Yes, we got a sign for Font. Excellent. Which is something if you, I don't know if you're here, but if you were the person who came up to me after I saw panel and said, hey, you need to cover enough about vampires, this is all for you. So you know. But yeah, oh my gosh. I know it seems like such an easy pass or something like, oh, this meeting to restore vampires, but like, come on. That's really interesting. That's like pretty unique. We've seen like adjacent to other vampires. We've seen, the southern vampires, we've never seen this.
Well, I think-
It has this.
Well, and I think this is such a good opportunity to be like, okay, so this like shitty part of history happened, which is like, obviously no one acknowledges like it should have happened or it was good, but it's also good to be able to use that as like, okay, we can still use it as inspiration, but we're literally going to make them the blood-sucking parasites they were the whole time. Christopher Columbus should have been hanged. So like it's really cool to see this because like obviously nobody looks at that, and with the exception of maybe like Saint Helena in the middle, nobody looks at that and is like, oh yeah, this is a good guy. Like, it's okay for, like, series to have bad guys, so you might as well make them the worst people that you freaking know. Make them Fernando Cortez. Incredible, actually. That's great. And again, anybody who kills a dinosaur like that is off in my books, so there you go. But I think Exelon whips so hard. It is so good. And obviously the art direction of it, incredible. Like, I know Jessica has, like, a lot of feelings on this, rightfully so, but
Yeah, it feels very real.
God, it's so good. Exelon hits so hard.
Yeah, like in many levels, because when you know like the classical vampire, it's okay, you have the first picture there, and it's like this crazy, hungry guy, and then you go to Welenda, and then you see like very Catholicism inspired,
Mm-hmm.
and for someone who grew up as Catholic, it went like, boom, wow, this is crazy. Like, I didn't expect to see, like, for example, the Madonna in the Pietà in a cart. And there are very good vampires, like, for example, most of them are like, the bad guys. But then you also have like the good in the bad. And like Elena's origin story, like she wanted to make good. She wanted to protect something. And then her lessons, her knowledge got deviated and became something bad. So yeah, that really hit hard too. We were talking about Catholicism, so
Yeah.
and then you had the Conquistadores, which also like hit very hard. And something I like a lot about, for example, my character that I'm cosplaying right now, I really love her because she started like she was like a princess and title girl that was very curious. So she was like, I want to learn more about the world around me. So I would go on an adventure with these people with power, and then I find out that they are not as good as I thought. And I meet a father figure who wants to protect me, and we get along, and we try to protect this little random guy we found like in danger. And then from there, she grew up like as a person. And then she's traveling through the omen paths, like learning, studying, learning from the people around her. Yeah, like something I really know about, I like about the story of Kellan, it's not Kellan himself, it's what he's doing with his friend.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting, and it was a very, very good decision lore-wise.
And then we have another unique origin of vampires too on the Exelon. Like, Jessica already covered it, where part is from Wanda, but
Or you want to cover it?
you got it.
Okay. So everything with the immortal son that it belonged to the vampire clan. It was not vampires; they were the conquistadores. So Elena was a warrior nun. Ooh, badass. Who wanted to protect.
Say less, I'm in, like, confirm.
Yeah, I want to be also warrior nun. So. She made a deal with Akasots when the immortal son was stolen by a sword, with a sword. And he offered eternal life to continue looking for the eternal son. So it was not, she was not looking for power, she was looking to finish her quest to find a lost treasure of her people. Since she had a lot of trouble finding it, she passed the curse to her crew, and that's how the vampirism spread through Ixalan. So she then afterwards, from all she was venerated as a saint for giving them like this immortality and just depending on what to subsist. But her message got distorted the vampires still were looking for the immortal sun, but in the process they were conquering areas that were in peace with them. So the war started, went like crazy, and in their desperation to find this immortal sun or find something they could get, they wanted to meet their god, that is Atlasos, that is based on an actual Maya god. Now I forgot the name. Kamazots. It's not even a vampire, he's just a bat.
He's the big bad.
He's a big bat. He cuts heads, but he's a nice guy. They were looking for the god. So they went to the center of the plain, and that's where they find him, and Atlasos has the power to turn them into demons. So now we have in this plane the demon vampires, which is, I think it's very cool, because they undergo a transformation that looks like, I don't know how to explain it, probably you have the words for it.
It's sings the words for it, I think.
I really like it because it's
Yeah, it looks
crazy money. And yeah, when Elenda woke up, she found out that her words had been distorted and she was very sad and very angry. So she went back to teach like you know, a good lesson, try to put her people on the right path and trying to bring peace to her community. So I really hope we see this in the future. How is it going? How the vampires of Ixalan are growing up as characters. Maybe we can hope for peace in the plane.
What's interesting here, by the way, is that up to this point we've had vampires we've had them in Warsaw. We haven't had mono white ones yet. I want to point that out too, that this is actually the first time we see a mono white vampire, which is fascinating because then eventually we will start to. We're also mono red, we saw mono black. We haven't seen mono green or blue, but we saw mono white, and it's like, yeah, it makes sense. It ties to that sense of like, it's a very, as it is with them, that distorted kind of version of like what like represents its color identity. So then as we move on now after that banger, we go from Dom, which is pretty much what I'm defining as the first era, Dominaria to Dust. It's more. We go to Babylon.
I love this card so much. Like, this art just lives rent-free in my head. I love freaking Battlebond so much. Gavin Verhey, please take us back there, I beg.
Will you cosplay it one day?
We did, yeah, I did. Olivia and I did the Azra, mostly just because, like, I will paint my face purple at the drop of a hat and wear some horns. It's just, like, my personal aesthetic. But I love, because the idea base for Battlebond was, like, kind of like a, ancient civilization, kind of Mesopotamia with like the big Zohars and all these things. And it's so good. It's so good. And yeah, this is just like a very cool sort of vampire that we saw there. And again, like I said, I'm a little biased. This art lives rent-free in my head. So when Phantom was like, we need art for this, I was like, I picked this one. I don't particularly have a good reason for it, but I think we should talk about it.
We go back around like that again. Also, one thing I want to point out about Mori vampires is that do you ever notice that it's always that position? It's
They really are just kind of always doing this.
framed exactly like that.
Yeah.
Like just,
Such a move.
hey everybody, like using their spleens out.
You can turn these microphones off. I just learned that. Okay.
Okay.
I do think Ravnica is kind of cool, and the reason that I picked these is like the dichotomy here is because I do think Ravnica kind of gives us a very interesting thing where we're kind of dealing with two different types of vampires at once. Like we have the very like aristocrat, poised, high fashion, honey, it's giving, like aristocrat vampire, and then we also have this other thing.
Creature from my nightmares.
Yeah, right. And then
Well, remember,
But
nightmares are
I
also dreams.
love it. It's just also nightmarish in a good way.
Yeah, but nightmares are also dreams. So.
Yeah.
He's a drink.
This is my sleep paralysis demon that I tell them that hey.
there is a
hey,
literal
you
sleep
can-
paralysis demon card. I don't think we put this one on there, but
Oh no, that's not my card.
yeah.
I feel it.
But yeah, Ravnica is interesting because we just have a lot of stuff in Ravnica.
We're still getting some random ones.
Yeah.
I would love to know why a vampire is on the Viking plane. I love it. And I do feel like it is, again, looking over, it's a reference to the original Vampire Dragon that we had in the early days. I want more Vampire Dragons. I want more types of like random vampire in this. I want my vampire dinosaur. I didn't cover that in Amazon Park. I want that.
I mean, it makes sense to have a dragon in Kaldheim. They have dragons in North mythology, so I would have been very upset if they didn't have a vampire dragon. Because it's really cool, and I love the concept, and it's very sad that we don't get more of them. Because, you know, dragons and vampires, the most popular creatures in magic, mixed.
Do we have the stats on those? Did we put a slide together for that?
Oh, the stats with like typing and stuff.
Yeah. I think there's maybe one at the end. Either way, you can ask me about it. I did all the data research on Scribewell.
We can have a slide for that. I just figured
No worries.
bring up.
It's a
It's like, it's this now. As long as the CVS, like CVS receipt, just all the stats.
And then we get to Strixhaven, which is interesting because it's like now the blood magic and everything is a, you know, it's school. It's a school subject you can have. You can have vampirism as your, you know, hey, you want to stay it? You want that to be your major? I do. So, and that was, well, not the first Greek vampire. That goes to, I forget the name, the one from the Sultai deck, from the Dakar. We get a blood researcher. So now we're branching out.
Yeah, and Dina, is Dina a vampire? No.
No, he does not
No,
vampire.
she's not. I just like her. I just imagine her as a vampire because she's got that killer text that says whenever you gain life, the target probably loses life, which chef's kiss. But yeah, we got green vampires now.
So eventually, where's the Fire Pillar one? When's that coming?
This is,
More changelings or for cowards?
Excuse me?
this is one of my favorite arts of all time, and it's on a token. So this takes us back to Innistrad. This is from Crimson Vow. And I think this is just a really cool example of how you can take one singular idea, which is mono black vampire, and you can interpret it stylistically, even not even talking about like the abilities on the card, but stylistically each one of those hands taking a goblet off of that human's tray is a different family of vampires. And because the styling on Innistrad is so unbelievably clutch, you can like tell what hand is from each family. So we've got, again, Markov, Falconwrath, Stormkirk, and Voldaren, which is really sick, actually. Like, this is one of the things that just makes me, like, really happy that, like, Magic the Gathering exists in the way that it does, and that we get to, like, pay artists to do these incredible interpretations of, like, the color pie. And I just think this is, like, a perfect example of it. Like, the way that this art just exists on a token that costs no money. It's like 0 cents, but the art just is incredible to me, and it's so cool that like we get to have that on a $0 value card, and we just get to have sick art that interprets the world in such a cool way.
And then with Crimson Vow, which I am an apologist for that said.
I hate Crimson Vow.
I know.
One of the worst limited formats in the past like 10 years.
I disagree.
I will fight you after this panel.
Yeah, we know. We even get we get to learn about the lesser families too. We got and they even introduced a new one. Is it? I'm going to butcher the pronunciation. I'm so sorry. Monty.
Dominati.
Yeah, didn't know. Yeah.
Thank you. The ones that are associated with demons, who drink demons' blood. And then Jackie, you wanted to talk about especially Henrika.
Oh, I'm obsessed with her art. Like,
Same.
this one lives in my head right now.
Fair.
But no, I just think like the angle is such an interesting, like with her specifically, the angles are always like an interesting, like so you got it upwards, downwards, whatever, just to really focus on all of the like, I don't know, sexy glamour of her. I don't know. She's a whole vibe. Every time I see this come up, I just think of like how beautiful the art is. And I don't know, that's my thing on that.
Vampires are very sexy.
Yeah,
They're fancy.
Did you say fancy or sexy?
I thought it was sexy.
Oh, it says sexy, it's not
Yes,
sexy.
yeah,
Okay,
both.
am I mumbling that?
All vampires,
correct.
Even the
Yes.
creepy one, like,
especially the creepy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Since there's something like people are like, who would you get that? Like,
Oh,
yeah.
hear me out.
Yeah.
This is not a hear me out. These are all objectively attractive vampires. I'm not here to be a coward.
All of these are.
I will absolutely get sent home by Watsy if we talk about my hear me out list, so we're not going to.
And then there's Reverse Bear.
Yeah,
My favorite too.
we've got my sweet summer child, Odric, Bloodcurst, who was turned into a vampire by Enrico, as portrayed in the Heroes Downfall card. In the flavor text, it talks about him getting bit and turned into a vampire. And then he goes on to use his vampiric powers to fight the good vampires fight against the vampires.
Listen, we love Blade. Iconic,
There's
actually.
only ever been one Blade, there's only ever gonna be one Blade.
it was an upgrade for Odric.
So this was my brainchild, mostly just because if I pick a team, I want to be on the winning one because I am a petty bitch. So vampires are just objectively cooler than werewolves, and I have the stats to back it up. So we brought one, werewolves have drastically less cards. Also, sometimes they smell bad. And two, if you look at the amount of keywords that vampires have had over the course of their existence in Magic the Gathering, let's not talk about the fact that they've been there since the beginning, whatever, it's fine. But we have a bunch more keywords and a lot more place to play with in vampires. And again, Phantom talks about that a little bit also. It's because vampires are basically, we just own the Marty slice of things, whereas like werewolves are very much stuck in Gruul. Like, sucks to suck, I guess.
I guess there's one blue werewolf, one black.
Well, I mean, we don't have to talk about that one, it's
But
fine.
I think we get to put one on here. The most powerful keyword in Magic's history, probably Eminence.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the one guy, like, it's fine.
He's the one guy. You know.
Sit down, Grandpa.
Werewolves can be proud. They got a mono blue werewolf. Well, okay, it's not technically mono blue, but let's for front face, it's mono. Before we got a freaking mono blue vampire, which seems really weird to me. I feel like that should be existing somewhere.
They are fluffy. Cute.
And then we have gangster vampires, which are like historians, which I also think is wonderful. I love the maestros.
Yeah.
We get Infinity and our core customer service vampires.
I know.
They're not happy.
This is also like a super aside, but if anybody's interested in exquisite sci-fi literature, there is a book called Blind Sight by Peter Watts, and it has the single most lovely instance of hard science vampires in a sci-fi setting that I've ever read. I highly recommend it. Like, it literally is like one of the coolest books I've ever read. I think about it all the time. It lives rent-free in my head. It's Blind Sight by Peter Watts. Dude is literally a Canadian marine biologist who knows way too much about orcas and how exactly horrible they are. And it's delightful. Highly recommend it. So vampires in space actually absolutely exists, and it's close enough for me to be able to talk about that. So, not a tangent, it was relevant, I promise.
And then we get.
Yeah, I already talked about enough about Alia, and you know, I love her.
Also, wood.
Totally.
Wait, it's not even a question.
No, I just wanted to say it.
No, I had a conversation with the artist of the original art, not the variant, and she told me like, okay, I wanted to make this funny, nerdy, but clumsy vampire, and I found that like really cute. Like,
Yeah.
she wanted to portray herself in that card because she considers herself a nerdy, clumsy god. So yeah, every time you see that card, it's like she put her heart in that card.
Again, wood.
I also do want to point out that I'm a big fan of all the excellent treatments in here. Especially
Yeah.
the vampire ones are like rad. So
Yeah, I was in my car with that one. Like, crazy.
going back to Ravnica again. We're covering some of the same things over, but we got Rada again with those lovely like fugitive crying vampire. We go to Thunder Junction, which I don't feel like is the strongest of the vampires ever. My other slide. But
Well, I feel like Thunder Junction was a lot of like
It needed,
put everything in a blender and put a cowboy hat on it, which, you know,
Concept is.
yeah.
I'm happy to see it look good again, but especially, having the best time as, a saloon girl, but I'm also like,
Yeah, but I do really like the idea, and again, like, it's things about Thunder Junction that I kind of wish had been explored more directly, is like, this guy, who's like obviously like a horrible capitalist railroad baron being a vampire, perfect, actually perfect example of flavor through both the art on the card, his title, and what he does. Incredible stuff. So like, I think there was more space to kind of explore like the new characters and how you can interpret the concept of a vampire into like the Wild West, because there absolutely were, parasites preying on other people in the Wild West, and this works perfectly for it. So like, I do really, yeah, that works really well for it.
That actually reminds me, there was a movie, I think it was called Day Shift,
Mm-hmm.
where the main, like, ancient vampire in that film is a realtor.
That sounds about right.
Living in LA, and she's just like.
Sounds very right.
and then we go into more other vampires that have very unique backgrounds. And we get our sexy boy, our sexy D&D boy, which everyone is, loves. Also, I want to know more about Rudolph. Or Rudolph.
I thought you were talking about Rudolph.
Was I talking? Oh, well, no, they are sexy. I'm sorry. You're correct.
Rudolph is pretty sexy, I mean.
You're not wrong.
Equal opportunity sex appeal.
I was unfortunately referring to Asterion. You know, I love Asterion too. And we end with Dustborn, which I was actually kind of sad there was one more vampire.
Yeah. It was the vampire.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on in Dustborn, but I am glad that we got the one, so. I think it's a killer.
We began kind of, well, I know we began with Second Vampire, but we also began with Throwbacks. And we come back to this, and again, just unique taste, unique representation, and I love that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to hit this up again.
We got 5 minutes for like questions. Tell us what your favorite vampire is.
Yeah, you raise your hand if you have anything to say or want to disagree.
Sparkly man.
Yes, you.
I found the vampires from the Edgar Markov set very interesting in the sense that Lycia, or
Lycia?
Yeah, like it appears that she's from Theros, right? Like in the,
I would think so, because it's Rome, Greece, close enough.
yeah, so she's this black warrior on Theros, which is anachronistic, and then there's Mathis, who in my eyes is the closeted vampire, who goes around and is branding other vampires for their sins, meanwhile hiding his identity, and I always thought the lore was very interesting.
I've never heard that take on Mathis before, but I love it. That's very good. That's super chill, yeah.
That's
I guess not super chill, actually. Very little about that is chill, but like chill in like the objectively I'm trying to compliment you is a good
It's
take.
representative of how some people are in real life.
Hell yeah, absolutely, brother. I get you.
In the back, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of back to the changelings. So how would that kind of play with, because a lot of vampirism is either through the tax or consumption of something. Do you have any idea how to play with changelings where they're just kind of that already?
I was just gonna say, I would think that it applies to the changelings the same way the scrolls apply to when they become superheroes. They don't actually get their powers, they just look like them.
I wonder if it would be almost like Etherborn too, because Etherborn suck the life force. They don't suck blood. They don't do psychic. They're literally just taking the life force and
Well,
stuff away.
To borrow from a adjacent IP too, sounds like we're here for talking about D&D, Asterion is literally on the table. The way that changelings work in D&D is that as a changeling, you can make your appearance look like anything that you share like a size category with and like an amount of limbs with. Like you can't turn yourself into a centaur as the level 1 changeling, but you can turn yourself into like an approximate cosplay of a vampire. So changelings are just cosplayers sent to me.
And then, all right, so you first in the hat because you went.
With the recent addition of things like omen paths, do you think in the event that they end up having, because with omen paths kind of crossing over planes, we might see vampires from different planes interacting with each other. What do you think that might like look like in terms of story?
I think they should all kiss.
Please, please, I just want them to answer where Baron Singier went, and then he's just like amassing a giant vampire army. Like he's grabbing all of them and being like, yeah, this is like the weird in-game vampire like finale or something.
I do think that is a really cool like possibility, and again, like I don't have a real answer other than the fact that I think they should all kiss, which I do think is a real answer. But I think it's really cool that we get to ask that question, if anything. Like I don't have an answer for you, but I think it's a fantastic question.
I don't think they will do it because it will become too complicated. Like imagine these wild, non-sentient vampire running free in Israel. The fighting between each other, they will definitely fight after they kiss, so.
Or kiss after they fight.
Whatever happens, they will fight.
You're not doing anything less to sell me on this, actually. I am more into it. I'm taking notes for my AO3 account.
Otherwise, I think it's complicated, but
yeah,
it will be cool if it happens. It will be very cool to see otherwise.
You have the rainbow shirt. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, well, from Bride's Life.
Yeah.
That's a good point. The Bride's Life Planeswalker said
I
that.
apologize if this has been addressed. I missed just the beginning of this, but as a resident Phyrexian apologist, did you talk about the Bleed Coven at all? Because maybe one of the coolest things Magic has done with the vampires is the mechanical side of vampires. They're just like, my hands are syringes. What do you think about it? You see the Sanguinate art and the original Bleed Coven card as well, so.
Yeah, we didn't actually get into that specifically, so I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah, no, it's a really interesting way. Again, I think it really just kind of comes down to the way that vampirism as a concept is so universal and it can be applied in such like really cool ways. And to like go back to that Venn diagram, I think that's one of the reasons that like we saw vampires in Magic right away. And if we ever saw a werewolf, it was basically just like, you can just like make this a wolf. Like werewolves are kind of just like, they're big fluffy dogs, right? Like, whereas like vampirism can be interpreted in so many other ways, whereas werewolves like quickly become like shapeshifters or just big dogs, which again, all dogs are good boys, so like nothing against dogs here, but I think that is really cool that we can see the way that vampirism as a concept can be interpreted into so many things. Like Phyresis and Phyrexia and that whole arc of Magic doesn't necessarily have anything to do with vampires itself, but also like when you look at it and squint and kind of turn your head sideways, you're like, no, this is like absolutely just vampire shit, right? Like, did that answer? I don't think that answered.
I was just curious.
I just like to talk into a microphone. They gave me one, so.
So we'll have to wrap it up here, I'm sorry. But any final thoughts before we go from our panelists? Anything about vampires or anything?
Yeah, vampires.
Yay, vampires.
Yay, vampires!
Wood.
Wood.
Give me a werewolf vampire.
Yeah.
Maybe in the underworld secret. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Before they turn off my mic and take it away from me, I'd like to thank our lovely, gracious host, True Phantom Angel, for putting this together.
I'd like to thank my panelists for coming, for actually, you know, joining in and everything. I appreciate you so much. This is one of my favorite creature types, and I know I've ranted so much as a super nerd. I do want to thank also our organizers. I want to thank Free Pop. I want to thank Wizards of the Coast especially for organizing it, but also letting us, do this and also enjoying the fun supernatural monster type that I love.
And thank all of you for coming to join us, because it would be really sad if we had to talk to ourselves. So thank you for being here. Give yourselves a pat on the back, and I hope you have a great weekend in Vegas.
Yeah, sandwich. Thanks for coming, everyone. This was a discussion panel for History of Vampires. I got most of it.
I want somebody else to do it on that cosplay. Maybe link their face a little.
I will stream again soon.